How you doing?
I wish I could say splendid as I usually do when people ask me that question, but since I was born and raised in Minnesota and spent 20 years in Minneapolis, St. Paul, owned a house for 10 years that's within less than a mile of where George was murdered.
Yep.
And so yesterday I spent a lot of hours with the Seattle situation on my television and the Minneapolis St. Paul situation on my one of my monitors, and watching two metro areas I know and love well. It's tough.
It is. So, Jessica, what am I looking at on your computer? Are you in there somewhere?
No,
Okay. I
but
just
I
want.
have no idea what it's doing. A freeform thing here.
Okay. All right. Because I'm thinking, wow, you look different tonight.
Well, yeah, I don't know why, but it has a mind of its own. I took the picture that I had before that I was getting compliments on and replaced it with the snowy one, and now it's added something else.
It
And
look, yeah. What's it look like to you, Barry? Can you tell?
Yeah, it looks like um, nature, but it's got a blue tint to it. And then it's a green screen, but it's not fully covering the whole screen. And I'm seeing the back of your monitor or the back of a chair that's got like perforations in it.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it looks like something. I mean, yes, we know it
yes,
looks like something. I'm just not sure where.
The
I
back of your
wonder.
computer. Do you have your iPad leaning up against something?
Well, it's my. I just have a little camera.
Oh, okay. At least.
Hey, how are ya?
So
So,
at least
Thank,
Jessica,
thank you.
the background, we're trying to figure it out.
I gotta go find out where my camera is. Oh, okay.
Hi, who just joined us by phone? Good evening. Who joined us by phone?
Hi, this is Jennifer DeLear. Sorry about that. I was having issues with my Zoom, so I decided to just join by the phone.
Yeah, no problem, Jennifer. Thank you for coming in. I'm just changing your phone number to your name. Even though we can't put your name with your face, at least we have your name.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. This your first time joining us?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're just getting on board and slowly getting up to speed. So you came in on a good time.
I'm
Okay,
having a
great.
snack. Sorry, guys.
Barry's cooking.
It's cocktails and conversation, and I didn't want to drink on an empty stomach.
All right.
Oh,
I'm good.
I forgot about the cocktails. I should have.
So yes, it's been a long weekend. So I'm looking forward to relaxing this week at work. You ever have one of those weeks?
Yeah,
Definitely.
too many lately.
I know. It's funny. So Jennifer, we're going to be starting in a minute, but where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Naples, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So Barry's down in Boca Raton, and
Okay.
my dad's down in Marco Island at the moment. So yes, we know the area well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Very
So,
cool.
cool. So we're gonna do some quick introductions in a few minutes once we get everyone on. So just wondering, we usually let the first timers start off. So name, rank, serial number, the basic stuff.
You win the prize. You get to go first.
I know.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Do I start now, or am I still waiting for
Yeah,
others?
we're gonna
to
wait
come?
a couple minutes. There's a bunch of
Okay.
people. I don't know I don't know why, but it's just like Monday seems kind of slow today. Like, does everyone seem to be slow motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Frank, good morning or good evening. Welcome. Can you hear
Hello?
us?
Yes.
Hi. All right, I'm updating your name to Frank. And I know it's you because I just saw your registration. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're just going to wait a couple minutes before we start, and we're just sharing clean jokes. Lisa wants to tell inappropriate jokes, but we told her no.
Yeah, right. With my cross on the wall behind me.
I know. Listen, you know what? All my friends who went to Catholic school, they told the best jokes.
Yep. I believe it.
I know. It's so funny. So, yeah, we'll wait another minute and then we'll jump in. So, Frank, what part of the country are you calling from?
New Orleans?
Excellent. Excellent.
I can't wait for the restaurants to come back.
I
So
know.
that would be extra hard because the food is so good there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So my wife and I are going out tomorrow night for dinner. Hopefully our restaurant will allow us to sit inside the restaurant. Right now in Connecticut, you can eat on the patio or outdoors, but I think June 1st, they were supposed to open it up. So hopefully we can go in. It's not bad eating on the patio, but it has to be warm enough. And we've had this cold, warm spell going back and forth. So we'll see.
You can always come to Rhode Island, Steve. They've got inside 50% dining.
Okay. Well, you know what? You never know.
An option.
I know. That's the thing. So tomorrow's our anniversary, and we have to figure out what to do if we can go anywhere.
How many years?
Um,
Barry knows.
Barry knows.
Oh.
It feels like a long time. Let's put it that way.
No.
No, it went by pretty quick. So it's been 30 years.
Wow.
Yep. We met 34 years ago. So, but yep, it went by
Gee,
quickly.
Isn't that how long you've known Barry?
Just
With a
about.
20-year gap in the middle.
I know. It's pretty funny. All right. Well, I'll tell
Nice
you what.
story.
Let's get going. I got emails. People were saying, "Yep, we're coming. We're running late." But you know what? All the beautiful people are here, so we'll start. So, good evening, everyone.
We love that kind of talk.
That's right. My name's Steve Porcaro. I'd like to welcome you to our Cocktails and Conversation Zoom member call. And June 1st, very exciting. We made it through most of the quarantining in home. We're starting to slowly open up. And all I can say is I hope the rest of the year is, other than some of the challenges, Jessica, you mentioned going on, and hopefully we'll resolve that issue quickly. Hopefully we'll have a better second half of the year. So welcome, everyone. So again, my name's Steve Porcaro. Barry, are you able to say hi now?
I'm Barry. I'm in Boca.
And Barry was just cooking and chewing, and we have to make sure that she can talk, right? So we usually
There's nothing in my teeth.
I know, you look fine. So what we're going to do is take a few minutes. We have a couple of new members joining us tonight. Again, just tell us your name, where you're coming from, what you're looking to get out of the call. Again, we're using this as a new member welcome. Questions about networking, about the group, transitioning, growing your business. We're going to try to keep it focusing on helping new members and answering some of those questions. And then we'll open it up in chat. And again, friendly, informal. Ideally, what happens on the call stays on the call for the most part. We haven't had to block anyone. Everyone's been mostly appropriate except Barry. But we'll start there. But Jennifer, if you don't mind, welcome. You are our newest member who just joined us, and then we'll go to Frank. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how we can help you.
Hi, thanks, Steve. So thank you so much for welcoming me into the group. I joined the LinkedIn group, and I'm really right now. I'm located in Naples, Florida, and that's because I'm working in the marketing department for Arthrex, which is a medical device company specializing in orthopedics and sports medicine. And I'm looking to get into the field. So I'm looking for either a sales role or a clinical specialist role. I really kind of lean more towards the clinical specialist roles, but definitely open to both options. And I joined the group because I wanted to, start to network a little bit more and see what other people's advice was out there, and just, do everything that I could to kind of connect and get as many pointers as I could so that I'm as successful as I can be in my job search. And I'm open to different locations. And so I realized I looked at some of the resources that Steve was sharing on the LinkedIn page, and I think one of the things that I might need to work on is kind of narrowing down exactly what specialty would be best for me and kind of what skills of mine to highlight when I go after that role that would differentiate me from being good for a different specialty. So just kind of a little bit more familiarity with the different strengths that are required for different specialties so that I can really narrow in on it.
Excellent, Jennifer. And I don't know if I told you, but I represented Arthrex for 5 years. Let me see.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that your background was in this specialty. So I was wondering which companies you worked for. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a small world. And as soon as you said Naples, I'm thinking, yep, I remember Naples well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was with I was with a distributor out of Waltham, Surgicare, and from 2000 to 2005. So so I had a great time. Arthrex was a great company, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we'll catch up offline and share some stories. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
All right. So welcome and thank you. Definitely look forward to seeing what we can share with you going forward. All right. I'm going to turn it over to Frank. Frank, are you able to chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for inviting me and let me join the group. I've been in outside sales for the last 15 plus years and growing with very large companies in the consumer electronics space. I just happened to have a medical sales rep move right next door to me. We got to start, chatting over the last few months while I was remodeling my home, and he loved my experience and my go after it attitude. And he said, hey, you need to get into this business, and gave me some key pointers and got me onto LinkedIn. And he said, look at my profile, look who I'm connected with. And I went down and just started introducing myself. And now in a couple of weeks, I'll be shadowing a couple of medical sales reps that work for some major companies. So I'm excited about learning a little bit more about the industry and, trying to guide myself to the right, type of position. So.
Steve, you're on mute.
Yep. Thank you. Welcome, Frank. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's nice when you come from the outside and you have some good experience to share. So you're at the right place. So we'll definitely, again, share as much as we can. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, and then we'll go to Lisa, and then Stone's with us. So Stone, is that your picture that you just put up? Or is that somebody else's picture? Because it looks a lot like you.
That is my picture.
All right, just checking. I was going to say, boy, what a difference a year or two makes, huh? All right, Jessica, would you like to say hello to our new members?
Yes, my name is Jessica, of course, and I have a background in medical device sales, and I've also ended up in the medical markets for software companies like Microsoft. And even when I worked at Xerox, which was my first sales job, I handled the medical market. So I guess I'm just destined to be in that arena. I, right now, had an interesting development over the last week or two. I've been helping my sister get some books published. And as a result of that, I have a client who is a published author. He's had a few books. He's got a publisher. And he has hired me to be the one who does the final run of his manuscripts before he submits them. So, because he says I'm persnickety about punctuation, which I think of as a badge of honor because of what I'm doing. So I like this because it doesn't mean I can't also pursue medical device sales and such, but it's a way to have some income in case things get slowed down, or even in situations like where people are laid off temporarily. So, and I really appreciate this Zoom meeting that we're having weekly. And so thanks again to Steve and Barry for help putting this on. And I welcome the new people. It's great to have flesh blood.
And Jessica means that in the nicest way. Thank you, Jessica.
Yes. He has to interpret for me. No.
Well, no, when you say fresh blood.
Oh, yeah, I could be a shark, right?
Well, I was watching zombie movies all last week. We got on this kick. And when you start talking about blood, zombie, COVID-19, all right, you never know. All right, Lisa, welcome.
Hey, thanks for letting me on, Steve. I thought I was forgotten. I signed up. It must not have gone through last week. But Lisa Stafari, and I've known Steve for a couple of years now. And I've just been laid off this month due to COVID. My branch shut down. I was in specialty infusion and skilled home health care. And so I'm collecting, but I'm losing my mind. So I've been on LinkedIn 10 hours a day. It's kind of getting to the point where it's a little crazy. Spent probably more money than I should have on people's opinions, but I'm open. I have 28 years in different biotech, infusion, pumps, laser sales, just an array of different things. I started out in pharma, and then I just moved on to IV products, and then from there biotech. So I've gotten a few interviews, and I've gotten down to the last couple of people, but nothing yet. And I'm starting to almost push the panic button. And I know I shouldn't, because these times are a little, we just opened yesterday, really, or today. I don't even remember what day it is. But, so some of the things that I actually had interviewed for, you're one out of 1,500 people that are going for the job. So it's just a little, it's daunting. I'm trying to stay positive, and I'm doing a lot of praying, but I'd like to really connect with more people from this group, because I've been doing a lot of networking.
All right. Well, Lisa, we may be able to help you down the road. So hold that thought. We get some things we're working on. So.
Oh, great. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Stone. Are you able to join us live, or we're just going to look at the the what's the word? The new you.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm at a restaurant, but here I go.
Oh, there
Excellent.
you
Hey,
are.
y'all. Oh, my headphones. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I am about
Wait a minute. Stone, hold on. We're all stuck at home and you're out.
South
That how
Carolina.
you play? All right.
We are increasing in case numbers, but we're opening up businesses.
All right.
That's funny.
So
We're in a wild day.
just
What are you talking about?
so inject a neener here.
I know.
Look, this is where I'm at. You guys ever been here? It's called Moe's.
Oh yeah. Yep.
No moves.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I am a medical rep. I sell a DME device, so I go to patients' houses and stuff. I've been doing it since July, so I guess almost a year now. And like my other jobs, I'm kind of looking elsewhere now. And we'll see. I have a final interview coming up. I've been talking to Derek Lee too. He's been crazy helpful. Thank you for recommending that, Steve. Met him in this group, so yeah, this group has been really good for me. I never thought about closing, especially the way he closes doing the interview, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah, anything I can do for anybody, connect with me on LinkedIn. My name's pretty easy to find. It's probably not another Stone Pick me out there. But yeah, that's all I got. So yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us remote on the scene. So it's pretty funny. So at this point, so Jennifer and Frank. So again, there's a core of people that have been joining us over the last 3 months. I think really about the middle of March, beginning of March. We were meeting on Tuesday afternoons. We moved our call to Monday evening. There's really no best time. And then we added a second call on Thursdays at 10 o'clock just during the COVID-19 because there were a number of people who were home and we thought it would be a good way to help network. So we're trying to keep that going at least through the end of June, having that Thursday call moving forward. But our Monday evening call is our new member introduction and, again, questions for the group. So what I'd like to do at this point is really kind of open it up for questions, especially with Frank and Jennifer in terms of using LinkedIn. And again, anyone else on the call, naturally, please ask questions. But I want to make sure we can help our newer members at least answer some of the new questions. Frank's relatively new to LinkedIn. Jennifer might be relatively new, especially about the groups, about networking, things like that. And as a group, we can help share some best practices. So Jennifer, Frank, anything you guys want to ask while you're here?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start.
Yes, sir.
Is there a specific, when you're reaching out to someone that works for a specific company that you see that as an opening, what do you normally say or introduce yourself to kind of get them to get on the phone? Any kind of unique ways that you've approached that?
So this is somebody who works at an organization that has a job open.
No, there's an opening at a XYZ company, and I can only find certain people that work in the organization, maybe in the sales organization. And is there a way? Does anybody have experience in just opening up the conversation to get them to, get on the phone with you? Any kind of unique ways that you've, or any kind of experience in that?
Yep, that's a good question. Barry, you want to share any ideas, or Stone, do you have?
Yeah, I do this if you have a mutual connection, that's one way. Just ask for an intro, but I actually did this recently. I just email and say, or LinkedIn message them. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. LinkedIn message them and say, hey, congrats on working for this company, or I see you've been at this company. You've either been there 5 years or you've been there 1 year. Whatever you can say, like, this is a new job. This is, I see you're a tenure rep. I would just say, hey, is there a chance we can talk for 10 to 15 minutes so I can learn about your journey? That's all I say. Something like that. Something generic, and I give them a time frame too, so they know it won't take that long. But they talk longer, honestly.
Mhm.
Yeah. What were you gonna add, Barry?
I've actually done it, and the key is you're not asking them for a job, you're not asking them for an introduction. You're just trying to pick the lock on the back or the side door. So you send that person a connection request and you use the 3 dots and you use the personalized invite option, and you can just send them a cover letter. Hey, Jane, or hey, Joe, I see you've been with IBM for 25 years. IBM is one of my target companies. I would love to chat with you and see what your experience is like. And would you be open to a quick phone call? Now, here's the other thing that I actually had better success with than reaching out to someone who was a current employee of the company. I found someone who was a former vice president, and you never know what you're going to get when you contact a former employee. You may get them singing the praises of the company, how great it was, how much they loved their job, and hear the circumstances that led them to leave. Or it may inadvertently be your uncovering a red flag. So it could go either way. But most of the time, people who are current or former employees of the company are very forthcoming with their opinions and their information. So as long as you're not asking for a job or asking for their help, they could assist you by opening the door to start that relationship and giving you information. So usually you're just going to be asking for an informational interview if you don't have any connections in common. Because if you don't, that's cold calling. And so you need to use your cold calling thinking cap to figure out what would get them to want to talk to you. It is easier with an existing, if it's a second or third degree connection.
And I did have some luck with, but limited luck with asking if, if they liked where they were and there was an opening, and, did they get a referral fee? I didn't want to apply to a place and not have them get a referral fee. If they liked the company and I was going to apply, I'd be happy to use their name. So I reversed it a little bit, where they were like, yeah, use my name, or just send it directly to me and I'll put it through, which can sometimes work. And then other times it doesn't work, because when asked how well they know you, they're going to say, oh, through LinkedIn. And that may not work. So, I'm just finding that some of the things that I thought that would be kind of a shoo-in, a lot of people have the same thought.
And I'd like to piggyback on that with sending that email. I have actually had better luck asking for information rather than asking the person to physically send my resume along. Because if it's not the hiring manager, or if they have a very, very structured human resources department, they may not allow side door applications where the person that is going to walk that resume over to the hiring manager's desk. It might be, all roads lead to HR and there's no way around it. So sometimes just finding out if they're not interested in helping you, maybe just asking them for the name of someone else who might be a closer match on your personal path to where you want to go within that company. So you really have to be crafty and creative and try to stay one step ahead. And it's the same thing as being in sales and asking a closed question versus an open-ended one. You just don't want to get a no when you're trying to get somebody to help you, right? Mm-hmm. If they don't feel comfortable walking the resume of someone they don't know to the hiring manager, then don't take that route. Just ask them for the name of someone else and just try to meet more people in the company. And, you know, not every person that you reach out to is going to be open to informational interviews, to helping people, to being bothered by a stranger. Just because people are on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean they know how to use it or use it philanthropically. You know, there are some people can be mercenary, and you don't know what that person that you're writing to is like if you don't know them.
Right.
And
And
there's a
Barry,
lot of recruiters on there now too that are looking to take your money.
right. So here's the other thing, Lisa, too, before I'm going to lead up to that point, and this is for everyone on the call. Again, Barry talks about being a mercenary and helping people. It's really hard to call people up and ask them to put their reputation at risk for somebody they just met.
Right.
They don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. So what happens is they're going to look at your profile. This is why you need to have a good profile. It was mentioned earlier, if you have a common connection, that's great. The other thing you can do is blame me if you're in my group and say, yeah, the group manager said I can reach out and network, right? But the easiest thing to do, Frank, is you're asking for advice and counsel, right? With Stone's message, hey, Stone, I noticed you worked at a company. I'd love to get your advice and counsel. You know, the owner or the manager of the group suggested I reach out, introduce myself, and get and ask for your advice and counsel. It's a non-threatening way to ask questions. I'd love to learn more about that industry, about that product, about that company. And then if that goes well, and again, this Barry's right. All I do is use LinkedIn to set up phone calls. And, you know, part of this is talk to them, let them hear you and find out that you're not a mutant, you're not a spammer, that you're a real person. And then when they feel comfortable, how can I help you? Then you can ask them, sure, what can you do? Can you introduce me to somebody, you know, decision-making process? Can you direct me? Can you tell me about the company? Just because there's a job opening, it may not be the right job for you. And this is the other part, you know, Jennifer was talking about picking a target, picking a direction, you know, and one of the things that's really challenging is that when people call up and say, I want to sell a medical device, that's a very large field. And, you know, just throwing darts at the board and hoping you're a good fit, it's going to be very stressful for you. And if the person has been with the company for a while, they know what they're looking for. They know what type of sales professional, they know the product line. And sometimes you're going to be a shoo-in and say, no problem, I'll do what I can because it's a win-win. If they can come across as a hero and a helper, it makes them look good and it helps you. And on the other hand, there may be times when your experience is just 180 degrees from what they're looking for. They're trying to be polite. You know, it's like, what do they say? You don't want to push it. But there is no secret handshake or password to get the help. But asking for advice and counsel usually is non-threatening. And if people have information, most sales professionals are very open to sharing that. If you, again, blame me or Barry if you're in your group and say, yeah, we recommend that you reach out to people, and then that way we'll take the heat. And you know, because we tell people, if you're joining the group, we're going to recommend that you reach out to people. That's why we have the group, to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
But again, to Barry's point, not everyone understands that. Not everyone's as active, which is fine. Some people, you know, you get kids, you got a job, you got a life, who knows, you get, you know, health, you know, things happen. But I think being professional, polite, courteous, asking for permission, like Stone said, hey, do you have a few minutes? I'd just love to get your advice and counsel. Yeah, I'll call you at 7 a.m. I'll call you 7 p.m. Just let me know when, and I'll fit it in. So I think for the most part, people have had pretty good success. Jessica, have you had any good experience you can share with Frank?
I'm thinking you guys really covered it well.
Okay. All right.
So-
Thank you.
Well, I definitely took Stone's advice on just the wording, and learning about their journey is a great way. Wrote down referral fee and making sure that I remember that, and a few other little things. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
All right. Hey, Stone, thanks for sharing that link. That's a long heck of a link, too.
Yeah, it's because it's from the email. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to forward the email, but it just seemed like I could just drop it in there and
Yep.
people
No
can sign
problem.
up. Yeah.
That's good.
I just wanted to add one more thing that I read, and I don't quote me, but I think it was from How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it may have been, or it might have been Zig Ziglar. All right, but okay, so and it just stuck with me because it was such an odd example. Once the person agrees to a call with you, or in my case, I used it before that, but you'll find the right place to use it. If you read that person's profile and find an interesting tidbit about their personal life, an odd hobby, a funny pet's name, you grew up on a street with the same name, just throw that in there. What I did was I had been following a discussion, one of those long threads where there's 1,000 comments, and I just started reading the comments. And this one guy on that discussion was a professional chef who owned a restaurant in Vermont. And he loved Brussels sprouts, and I love Brussels sprouts. So I sent him a connection request, and I said, anybody who loves Brussels sprouts is a friend of mine. I would love to connect to you, blah, blah, blah. And he wrote back to me and he goes, oh my God, that was the best connection request I've ever received in my life. He's like, do you like bacon?
Yeah, Barry. So, okay, Frank, so the secret is food, the way to, okay, so this is what I taught my boys, right? They all went through scouting, and I would teach them how to cook. The way to a woman's stomach is through her heart, right? So if you keep them fed, that's half the battle. All right, before we go ahead, Lisa, did you join us on your iPhone?
I did. How are
Welcome.
you?
Good. All right. I thought it was you.
Comment on something if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah, so I was listening to you guys for the past few minutes. So what I normally do to try to connect with someone as a soft introduction is I usually say, your face looks so familiar. I may have met you at one of the conferences we attend. Or maybe we met, or maybe I've just seen you year after year, and I just wanted to introduce myself and tell you who I am.
All right, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it does. I mean, that's just how I open it up, and then usually I ask them and say, hey, I really want to get into the company you're working for. Would you be able to spare 5-10 minutes to help me understand how things operate there, and I see you've been there. If they've been there a few years, I see you've been there for a while. I don't ask them for a connection or anything. That's when they get on the phone, and if they bring it up, then I will. But yeah, I usually just kind of introduce it like that and ask them to set up a meeting with me. And I mean, it's a hit or miss. I've met some really nice people on LinkedIn, and I've met some people that never, responded to me.
Yeah, no, it's good. Thank you, Lisa. And the thing is, I think, Frank, if you're being personable, being professional goes a long way. One of the things when we talk a lot about social media, which we don't run into a lot on LinkedIn, we don't get a lot of spam. My wife, and this does happen if you're an attractive woman, on occasion you may get an inappropriate request, you know, it does happen. So women sometimes may be wary sometimes of connecting with men, I've been told. But I've also had some inappropriate too, very few on LinkedIn. But again, being professional, being authentic, and again, being realistic with your expectations, I think is very helpful. There are some people who think they're going to call you up or you're going to contact them and they're going to bring you right into the hiring manager. And that does happen on very rare occasions. Barry's been fortunate to make some good contacts over the years and have some very interesting conversation. But Barry's also been on the other end of the line too, where, you know, people are, and we all, you know, people from all over the world want to reach out and sell us the next best, fill in the blank there. So we'll, you know, keep us in the loop. Let us know what works for you going forward. Anyone else want to share anything with Frank before we move on?
Steve, I just wanted to say I really agree with you, especially about the sometimes getting unwanted attention as a woman. And then also, I love what Barry shared, that because I believe in authenticity. Mm-hmm. I think that when you connect with somebody where I can tell you truly love that horrible vegetable I won't eat. You know, but I know that it came across to the guy and you were off and running, you know, because if somebody asks, do you love bacon? I mean, who would say no to that, you know? But so I really believe that it takes some extra work, like you scrolled through so many things and found something legit and you went with that. And again, I just want to say authenticity has always worked for me and it will work with me.
Yep. Thank you, Jessica. And that's, you know, again, confirmation. The other thing, Frank, too, I'm just going to throw out and for everyone on the call, excuse me, your second level connections, people who you're connected with, who they're connected, your second level, sometimes there's such a rich resource that connections that sometimes we forget it. And the other thing is, and again, I know we're kind of bouncing around there. Sometimes we're connected to people on LinkedIn, but staying in touch with the people you're connected to is very helpful as well. They become your virtual eyes and ears, your virtual sales team. So you want to, and again, you can't stay in touch with everybody, but if you can allot 5 minutes a day, reach out to one person a day for 5 days. Some people reach out to 5 people a day, and every 20 days rotate, right? Or every 25 days. But if you have a good network of people, so Lisa, you're doing this now. If you're out there networking, LinkedIn used to allow you to tag people and keep notes, and then they wanted to pay to do that. But keep a spreadsheet, keep a list. If you were working with a job search company or a transitioning company, outplacement, they would, and again, I have some of these worksheets with but it's basically a spreadsheet. Here's my daily log, who I called. Hey, Lisa, I want to catch up with you in next month. Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. And reach out and build those connections. It's not that one time you talk to somebody that gets you that lucky interview. It's the person you talk to 2, 3, 4, 5 times that makes that connection, because it's top of mind awareness. Oh, Barry's a good person. Jessica's a good person. Stone's a decent guy. Yes, they're on the top of my head. And that's what you want to do. This is where the drip marketing, the branding comes in place. And this is what LinkedIn is all about. Right now, and again, we could talk about this forever. The people who are getting the jobs sometimes aren't the best people for the job. They're just the best or most connected. Mm-hmm. And we run into that all the time. You know, you go for an interview and you say, geez, I hit every checkbox. I'm a perfect fit. How come I didn't get the job? Well, it's because sometimes there's a relationship that's already established before. So, Lisa, you get something you want to share with that?
No, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's sometimes can be frustrating.
Yeah. Well, and Frank, I'll throw this out to you too. And Jennifer, this is one of the reasons why I shared that information with you. Once you get a direction, a target, the more specific you can be, the easier it is for you to start networking, because it's hard to network with thousands of people. But if I said, Jennifer, hey, I want to work with a sports medicine company in New England because I'm in Connecticut, well, that would allow me to focus on sports medicine connections, people that work. Here are the top 5 companies in sports medicine. It would give me a direction. And then what I could do is focus my energy, build relationships. Sometimes you want to dig your well before you get thirsty, in a sense. They may not have a job opening, but that's okay. Start your connection and start reaching out to these people. So when there is a job opening, you're already queued up in place. So it's, can you sit here and wait for a job to open? Yes. But the other side of the equation, you want to start building relationships and building those bridges. So when the job does open, your foot's already halfway in the door.
So how do you keep maintaining the relationship? Because I think that's where I fall short. What do you say? How do you keep, building it? I'm great at reaching out initially, but then what? Then I fall on my face.
Right. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, right? So again, Lisa, if I said to you, hey, do you mind if I reach out to you every now and then, check in with you once a month just to let you know how I'm doing in my job search? What would you say?
I mean, most people would say yes, not always, but yeah. Uh-huh.
Lisa, right. I know you're interested in sports medicine. Geez, if I find an article or something, maybe do you mind if I share it with you?
Right. Okay.
You know what? I know you're into Brussels sprouts, golf, hockey, skydiving. You know what? If I had a conversation and I know you have children or you like to ride bikes or you like animals, I may send you an article on that. Hey, Lisa, I saw this article and I thought of you. Have a great day.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes sense.
Very simple.
Sorry.
Take it away, Barry. It's all yours.
The other thing you can do, and this is helpful if you don't always feel comfortable reaching out and by phone or by text message, just stay active on LinkedIn. The other way to stay top of mind is for people to see your name in their feed, whether it's commenting on something they posted, putting up your own article, sharing a discussion that you thought was interesting. You're fighting against the algorithm because LinkedIn decides what it wants other people to see of what you've done, but it is another soft way of keeping your name in front of your connections by staying active on LinkedIn.
Well, Barry, and Barry and I have done this, right? We would take some of our webinars and videos and recordings, share them on LinkedIn, tag people in it, so we know that they'll know that we're thinking of them, and we don't have to say anything. They would just know that we tag them because, hey, this was something that, hey, professional development, personal development, communication, strategic planning, whatever that topic is, they would know that, oh, last time we spoke, you mentioned you're into that. So again, there's some subtle ways to do it without being overboard. But the idea is, and this is, Lisa, this is where you put your thinking cap on and say, what are the top 3 ways I can stay in touch? Maybe once I'll call them, next time I'll tag them, next time I'll email that person, and you rotate through.
Right. Okay.
And put it on your calendar. Just a recurring appointment every 6 weeks, every 6th Thursday at 3:00. Email John Smith about whatever.
Right. No, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have to be more assertive in finding that common element, something common, or something like or something. Yeah.
Right.
You have to make that extra effort.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lisa, that's part of the listening, right? The hard part is and this is hard. We get on the phone and we want to talk, but we actually want to listen. We ask for their advice and counsel, have a few questions to ask, and just listen. Right? Didn't Mark Twain said, the best conversationist, say the least sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes we feel like and we've all been there, right? We're transitioning. I have a great career. I want to get on the phone in 20 minutes, download everything. Well, the reality is they're looking at your profile. We want them to talk so we can learn how to stay in touch with them. Jennifer, how are you doing? What can we help you with this evening?
Yeah, that is great. This is some really great discussion, so I really appreciate it. So I thought I'd share a little bit with Frank of what I've been doing and kind of, what I'm hearing where maybe I'm going wrong and kind of get everyone's insight on that. And then I think more than just the initial reaching out, I've noticed, I think something that's been frustrating for me is when I do get that connection going, I usually carry it through until kind of those final interview stages. And then it's kind of, I don't hear back, and I follow up and it's not even like I don't even get the notification that I didn't get the job, but I just stop hearing back from them. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm on LinkedIn Premium. So that has really helped me because I can kind of search for the exact person that I'm looking for. And it gives you, I think, like 15 in-mail credits. So I can send messages to people when I don't have any connections. And one of the things that I do is I send people mail messages without sending them a connection request, mainly because I am currently employed by a medical device company, and I'm not sure that I want everyone that I'm connected with at work seeing me connect with all these people from other companies. So kind of wanted to hear what everyone's thoughts were on that, if maybe that's something that I should just let go and not worry about so much, or if it is something to be cautious of. And so very much like Jessica said, I usually start off and I like to pull something that I've learned from their profiles to show them, that I'm not copying and pasting and that I'm kind of doing my work, looking at them, trying to find something interesting to talk about, whether it's how long they've been with the company and, congratulating them on that and saying, I'd love to hear more about your experience, or if it's something a little bit more personal, like maybe where they grew up and maybe I know something about that area. And then I usually do like a real quick summary of my experience, just highlight 3 main things, just very general. And then, say, I would love to get connected. If I could just have a few minutes of your time, I'd love to talk. And I usually attach my resume as well. But when I do this, it's usually because of a job that I've seen posted. So I usually will look at a job and apply for it, and then in my mail message say, I saw this job posted. I'm so excited. I think I would be great. Here's why. So maybe that's something that I shouldn't be doing as much, and maybe I should be starting with just reaching out to people in general without there being a specific job in mind. But then to go on from that, I think when I do get that connection, and all of the interviews that I've had have been because I've reached out to somebody on LinkedIn. I've never gotten an interview just solely by submitting a formal application on on a website. So
Yeah.
I think that that's definitely been in my favor to an extent. But then one of the things that, I kind of get frustrated with is that I'll seem to have really good traction, things seem positive, but then for whatever reason, I haven't landed the job and I haven't really been able to get that kind of constructive feedback or really know, what went wrong or what experience whoever did get the job had over me, because it kind of just, the conversations just kind of go away and I'm not hearing back.
Yep. Jennifer, that's, it's interesting. If there was just the magic, ticket, right? The golden rule, just do this and it would work 100% of the time. And, you can do the same thing 5 times and it works, or you can do it 5 times in a row and it doesn't work and there's no rhyme or reason. And, so part of this is we keep doing the things that work well until they don't work well, and then we change it up again, right? It's like that A/B marketing test, right? What works?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's working for you, certainly keep doing it. On the other hand, you know what the definition of insanity is, right? Doing the same thing over and expecting to get different results. And again, we look at history, right? And what used to work in the past may not work today. When we were on LinkedIn at the end of 2007, right, Barry? When I started the first LinkedIn group that I have, and nobody knew social media, right? Facebook was only a few months older or a year older, right? We were just starting to get online. Everyone thought, hey, this is great. We can reach out to people. And it was new. It was exciting. And then it got to the point where we were saturated with it. And this, you work for a great company now, and people like, oh, geez, I'm going to give Jennifer a call because they're looking for an Arthrex rep in Washington, D.C. or, Southern California, and not realizing that I think you're still using distributors, right? So
Right.
people don't know what they don't know. People don't understand. I mean, think about social boundaries, and now we're talking professional boundaries, networking. I mean, there are people that have known me for 20 years in the orthopedic world, and sometimes I'm reluctant to call them for a job because I don't want to impose on them. And yet there are people who know me from a hole in the wall, and they have no problem calling me up and asking for an introduction. And, the truth is, if this is a good friend of mine, I'm not going to waste his time with somebody I don't know. I'm not going to ruin or damage my relationship because somebody out of the blue called me up, unless they have a reference or it's somebody that I know from whatever reference, character, work history, somebody I feel positive about. So part of this is balancing that, not being too pushy, but also being confident and assertive enough that you come across in a positive way. And that's that whole balancing act. Go ahead, Barry. When I say confidence, I'm thinking of you.
I just wanted to speak to one other comment that you made in the course of your explanation leading up to the question. And that was the fact of being ghosted by the hiring people. That's actually, unfortunately, become very common. And you shouldn't judge the person. If you were working with a side door or back door person and they got you that far, they're not to blame for that radio silence. There's a whole school of thought and a whole group of people on LinkedIn that follow the philosophy that if they're going to treat you like that as a candidate, who knows what they're going to treat you like as an employee. So if you've gotten ghosted by a company, me personally, I probably wouldn't work so hard to try and get in there because they just sent me a message loud and clear. versus another company that, even though it's an automated response, I immediately get an auto response that my application was received, and then I get an email from human resources, and then sometimes I get a phone call from human resources or a phone call directly from the hiring manager. Those are the things in that candidate experience that show you what the company is all about. So I wouldn't sweat too much about these companies that are ghosting you, because you probably wouldn't want to work for them anyway.
And never take it personally.
Right.
That kind of behavior belongs under the umbrella of it speaks volumes about them. It says nothing about you.
Exactly, Jessica.
Yeah, but if there's so many of them doing it, then, well, first of all, it's hard not to take personally, but I get it. But, you know, if so many companies are doing it, yes, it doesn't a true character in somebody, but it, you know, it limits your potential to get into a company if 10 out of 10 are doing it or 9 out of 10 are doing it.
Right.
Well, I think it depends upon the market. When there's a lot of jobs and not enough candidates, then companies clean up their act.
Yeah, because there's no excuse to be rude to these people. You're not getting that many.
Well, yeah.
And
And
to your
so,
point,
Right
but
now,
ultimately, there might just be a company might learn to do it better. But again, and you said it was hard, but seriously, do not take it personally.
and you also,
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I've thought about is like maybe it's the company policy that once they've decided not to extend an offer, that they're not really allowed to say anything, or maybe because it's a sales world, they're afraid that if they give an objection, that I'm just going to counter that objection, and they just don't want to deal with it.
Well,
I think that is the answer. I mean, I've hired a lot of people over the last, 5 years, and one gentleman that did not get the job, he called me. Of course, he had my cell phone number because it was always in my email. He called me. He told me, and I'm using this now to get the information out of the hiring manager. I'm thanking them and congratulating them on their hire. And if they had a few minutes to give me some advice on what I could have done better. And what I found is that is the majority of the time they will call back, like 6 out of 10 times. And the one sales guy that didn't get the job that I was hiring for, he called me, and that kind of got me thinking, maybe I should add this and be creative a bit to get that information. I guess it's kind of like networking a little bit, but you got to be creative in getting them to call you back, but not trying to convince them that, hey, you should have gotten the job, but getting some advice. So that's a little bit of my experience, not in the pharmaceutical and medical sales world, but in consumer electronics.
so
I wanted to say something about your comment that maybe that's the company policy as a kind of a way of justifying what they're doing. But that loops right back to what Barry was saying. If a company can't just graciously thank you for the interview or thank you for your interest, but we've chosen another candidate, it's not going to expose them to any legal action because they haven't gotten into reasons. And it doesn't hurt to just do that. So if a company decides that is their policy, it's official, then I'm with Barry. You don't want to work for them.
and it is a slippery slope, because if you write back and ask for feedback, that's where they could get into trouble saying, well, we didn't like you because X, Y, Z. So most of the time,
Okay.
unless it was something huge, like, well, you just have zero experience in orthopedics, you come from, ophthalmology, hello me, that's an acceptable feedback. And it was a given going into it. So they're lobbing the softball back at me. I know I didn't have any ophthalmology experience because you're banking on your transferable skills.
Right.
So,
But Barry, hold that thought. If you, so couple caveats here, and Frank, and you can probably appreciate this. If so that we haven't talked about the recruiters versus the hiring managers, the internal working directly for the company. There are going to be times when if somebody called Barry up and say, Barry, I took a quick look at your resume and I think you'll be a great fit for our company. Can you be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock for an orthopedic job? Because I know you applied. And Barry knows she has limited experience, and the recruiters calling at the last minute, they're covering their ass because they want to get people there to fill the hole, right? The recruiters work for the companies that are paying them. So part of this challenge is, you know, if you're number 2 or number 3 and they bring in good candidates, and you don't get hired, as Jessica said, it's not personal. Someone may have had a little bit more experience, may be more familiar with the product, may have a different track record. Doesn't mean that you can't do the job. Somebody just had a better fit. But the other thing here is following up with the person after the interview. Again, if to Frank's point, you want to be professional. Hey, do you have any insight, anything I could do better? I love to get feedback. If they say, listen, you're a great candidate, this one was a better person, no problem. But this happens too, that sometimes their first choice doesn't take the job. And keeping a good communication line open when they have to call you back a week later and say, hey, Jennifer, you know what? That job's open. You're our second choice. Are you available? That happens more often than not, especially in a tight market. So you have to use your spidey sense and say, are they gaming me? Is this a legitimate job? Do I have the minimum qualifications and experience? Because if you think you're an outlier, and this does happen, this is the part that frustrates you. When you get a call because you apply for a job because it says job, and the recruiter calls you up and says, yeah, you're breathing, you're over 18, you have a resume, yeah, come on in, we'll give you a job. A lot of times these people are padding their list. I mean, the recruiters unfortunately do that. So there's a combination, and again, you have to use your gut instinct and you have to be aware of what's happening. And it is frustrating. And again, Barry and I have known this for 15 years because we have clients saying, yep, you know, I got a call, I had the initial interview and I didn't hear from them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then they wouldn't even give me the time of day, or they called me back and said, yep, next interview's a month away. So, you know, there's a whole slew and combination of things that can happen. There's not one size, again, fits all. Right now, we're going through an unprecedented time. There's a little abnormal cycle with some of these things, but I think use your gut and say, am I really a good candidate? Be objective. If you go through the list and you fit 90% of what they're looking for, you're viable. If you have 50% and they're asking you to drop something and get a phone interview in 2 days, then now they're stacking the deck. And again, we all, hopefully you won't get that often, but go ahead, Barry.
yeah, I think we've all been what I call a CYA candidate. There are a lot of companies by law, because of EEOC complaints and regulations, that they have to open up jobs for anybody who wants to apply. And a lot of times it's an internal candidate, but they cannot offer that internal candidate the position until they have interviewed somebody who's not from the company. I can personally speak to the experience that I am the absolutely perfect CYA candidate. I can't even tell you how many job interviews that I've been on where I know I knocked it out of the park. And the companies that have called me back to tell me I didn't get the job, that, yeah, we extended the job to an internal candidate. No shit, Sherlock. It's very frustrating, but they have to do it. And
Yeah.
on that same note, the other thing that you can't take personally is the situation that Steve talked about, where they offer the position to their first choice and the first choice doesn't get it, and you are the second choice. You're not the second choice. You're second in line to the throne. You can't take it personally that you were the second choice, because it means they liked you enough that they still are going to fill the position with you. Just the first person wasn't available. So try not to look at it as second choice, because that has a negative, just a negative energy around it. Just, I'm second in line to the throne. And just something that will make you feel good, that will help you move forward, even though in your heart, maybe you felt like you weren't the first choice.
So Barry, do Brussels sprouts take second place to asparagus?
Ugh.
Bacon.
No, Brussels sprouts and zucchini are tied for first.
Okay.
Hey, can I just say something about the recruiters that are out there right now?
Yeah, please.
I don't know about other parts of the country, but I know that I'm just looking at the same people that used to be, they're IQVIA now. They used to be Inventive, merging with Syneos and TSP. So you're getting the same people that are doing all the recruiting, probably because they're the cheapest and they're not the best. Mm-hmm. So every time I'm applying for a job and I'm like, not her again. Like, this is the non-responsive girl, that works with, because nobody wants to pay a good recruiter from like an SMR or one of the better, Ted Culver or what have you. They don't want to pay a lot of money because this is a bad time for them. They're going to pay the cheaper recruiter. So the cheaper recruiter is on overload.
And Lisa, to your point, also, a lot of these companies are not even hiring full-time employees. They're hiring contract employees, and they're using recruiters to help them find contract employees on crappy contracts. Mm-hmm. So it all still goes back to doing your research, of making sure that the position and it is something you'd want to do, and the company is somebody that you would want to work for.
Hmm.
All right.
So what is everyone's opinion on using recruiters versus not? Because I traditionally haven't been using them, but someone recently who is a medical device told me, you really should be using them. They're going to go to bat for you. They're going to help you, get that connection. And even if the things that you're saying are good, they're going to be reinforcing that, and coming from another person, it just, makes it more believable, and it just helps a lot. So I just wanted to kind of see what y'all's opinion was on that, if, recruiters are the way to go, or if it's really kind of 50-50, or what your opinion is.
The answer is yes. Jennifer, that's, this is a tough one, because again, it all depends on your perspective and experience. If you haven't looked for many jobs in your career and you had a good experience with your last one with a recruiter, you're saying, oh yeah, I've had great experience. And yet on the other hand, and I think, was it Alan who was on our call last week, who basically said, geez, I got a lot of jobs through networking, right? Most of the jobs, because I'll talk to people and I'll get networking. So, I think it's a combination, Jennifer. You don't want to, Lisa, I'm going to have to mute you for a minute. There's some feedback on your phone. Excuse me. All right. So the tough part, Jennifer, is there's no rhyme or reason, right? Different companies have different ways to network. And for you could be networking with somebody going through a distributorship where it's easier for you to connect directly with a local distributor than working with a national company that only gets their candidates from a recruiter. So there's, again, multiple factors to consider. What specialty, what part of the country, whether you're working directly for the manufacturer or you're going to work for a distributor. I don't have your sales background, right? So I don't know where you are in the process, but if you have a pretty successful background in sales, you know, a recruiter is like not a used car, but a car salesman, right? When you're walking into the shop, you already know that you want a certain car. The salesperson is really more of an order taker than a salesperson. They're not really there to sell you something. A recruiter is basically, if you're a good candidate, they're collecting this, they're sifting them, and they're vetting them, and they're bringing them to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager makes the choice, not the recruiter. So depending on your qualifications, your background, your experience will dictate whether or not the recruiter even moves you up to the line. If you go and work through the networking way, you almost bypass the recruiter because you've built a relationship. And as Barry said, we talk about going in the back door, the side door, the trap door when you can't get in the front door. So it's not better or worse, it's just different. And you have to be able to be flexible and use the best route available to you depending on the job and the company. So that's a long-winded answer, but the answer is still yes.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
All right. It's getting to that time of the evening. We're going to wrap it up. Any final questions or thoughts? Again, I'd love to sit here all day and chat, but you know, Barry's the union says she can't work much longer.
So, hey, this is Lisa. Sorry, I don't know why I wasn't talking or doing anything. I don't know why the noise, something came through. But anyway, so my question is, you know, the recruiters are going to fight for you if they like you. And you're saying that, of course, once they submit the resumes, it's up to the direct hiring manager. Do you feel like that's the same for both internal corporate recruiters as well as like an external recruiter?
So yes and no. And again, I'll preface this with, you could have a recruiter that only works in orthopedics, who's very familiar with the type of sales, the company, who may have been out in the field. So what happens is, again, these recruiters aren't getting paid until they bring in the right candidate. The internal recruiter may be someone who works in HR and has other HR duties, so they may have a different pay motivator than an external recruiter. So they're going to get paid whether or not they bring in someone this month or next month. They could be someone who recruits somebody from the janitor for the manufacturing plant all the way up to the C-level. So, you know, so it is different for each organization. Again, if it's a national organization with 1,000 salespeople and they're hiring salespeople all the time because there's turnover, attrition, whatever, they're going to know exactly what the person behavioral and selling skills are like because they've been doing it. They have 1,000 people. If you have a general recruiter that's a contractor that only works with this company on occasion, once every 6 months, couple times a year, whatever, their motivation is slightly different. And again, it's not that they're better or worse, it's just different. So the thing is, and why is this an issue? We've all have talked about, if you're a competent sales professional, and we've all said this, we've all heard it, just get me in front of the hiring manager. I know I can convince them I can do a good job. Well, it's no different when we have to get in front of the decision maker. You have to get past the gatekeeper, and the recruiter is the gatekeeper. And if the recruiter is told that they have to bring somebody in with, you know, red hair and green eyes, that's 5'2", and went to a certain university or have a certain background, that's what that recruiter is going to bring in because that's what they're told. Their chance of getting paid hinges on the fact they bring in the right person. So this is the tough part when it comes to matching. You know, even though you may have the best resume in the world and you can put the keyword search in, the recruiter may look at your resume but may not follow up with you. This is why it's so important to understand who you are, because again, we run into this, and I think you, Jennifer, you mentioned this. You can get interviews, but are you closing the sale? Or your resume gets you the interview, and then you get there and you're not prepared to close the sale. So part of this is, from the beginning, everything has to be in alignment, has to be congruent, it has to align, it has to be comfortable. Because at the end of the day, when you're networking or you're going for that interview, if as soon as you open your mouth, right, the first 12 feet, the first 12 seconds, the first 12 words out of your mouth, they're going to know whether or not that they're going to continue that interview. Right? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of psychology, and you know, part of it is, again, Frank knows this. Frank, you did a lot of hiring, it sounds like, in your past life.
Yes.
All right, so can you share some wisdom with us? Or are you able to talk?
I will agree with that the first couple minutes will dictate whether or not I'm going to continue on with asking more questions. I normally have a list of about 15 questions that I have in my back pocket, and I'll continue on asking all those questions, you know, if I feel comfortable with all the answers. So the hardest one that I usually wait for this to be the last one is, tell me a little bit about yourself. And that's usually the hardest thing for a salesperson to do, because we're great at selling the company's product, but selling ourselves, you know, talking about ourselves is, we're not used to it. And so we have to be comfortable selling ourselves, you know, applying for all these jobs. So it's a delicate balance. Hopefully that helps. It's good feedback.
Yeah, no, thanks, Frank. And that's like, I use that example right up front. And when I'm working with clients and they say I'm ready to go, and I'll throw that one open. And if they go in the wrong direction, it's back to square one, because that's the kiss of death. That's the question, the trap question. And and you know, from the beginning, if this whole thing, Jennifer, Lisa, and I know we've talked about this, this is all about demonstrating your salesmanship in person. This is your opportunity to shine. You can tell them what you did, or you can show them what you do. And I think that's what differentiates you. So the thing with the recruiter is, they're in a tough position. Again, they're being told to bring people in, but if you can get to the recruiter and sell your benefit, your value, your experience, and especially being able to look between the lines and say, you may not have exactly what they're looking for, but you're able to articulate why I should move you forward. Again, the gatekeeper, why, you know, and again, for years we had to call on physicians and we had to get by the front desk. I only need Dr. Smith for 2 minutes. You know, the hardest sale was getting past his office staff, because they were like those junkyard dogs, you know. But once you did that, it was smooth sailing. So
I wanted to add one more thing to the concept of answering questions in an interview and sharing information. When someone says, tell me about yourself, they don't want to know where you grew up and what high school you went to and what your favorite dog is, unless you did your homework and you know that they have 6 Rhodesian Ridgebacks at home and you can make some kind of an intelligent comment about Rhodesian Ridgebacks. But that's part of building those relationships. Even if you do that with the person from human resources or the recruiter who's interviewing you, if you can find a way to make a personal connection to that first step in the process, that also might help you through to the next step. So and Steve always says this, so I'm channeling Steve right now. Your job at the interview is just to get to the next step, not to get a job offer for the first interview.
Thank you, Barry. But it's true. I mean, very rarely, and I think I shared, there's only one time in my life where somebody went to interview, they closed it on the first time, and that's a story for another night.
I did it.
Happened to
I
me
did,
once.
I did it once, but only 15 minutes, so that was not going to happen again.
Right, but we've all had that, that, again, it happens very
Magic.
rarely. It's possible, but for the most part, it's not going to happen on a regular basis.
That's divine intervention.
I agree with that.
Yep, that's true. All right, well, listen, you've been a wonderful audience, wonderful. We could stay here and chat all night, but we have to go, unfortunately. But thank you. If you're around Thursday at 10 o'clock for our coffee and conversation, feel free to stop by. I'll send out a link for the recording and the reminder in the next day or so. And Frank and Jennifer, thank you for joining us as first timers. Everyone else, have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Steve,
Yes, Lisa.
I just have a question. I think I'm going to need some extra help.
Yep. Okay.
I'm the student that needs the extra help. I'm going to jump off a bridge soon. I really, I just.
Well, yeah, let's talk. And I know we talked about it briefly, but send me an email and Barry and I can help, or Barry,
I may have to reinvent my job, my life, because hospitals are we're locked out right now.
I know.
And they're not hiring anyone. The only people they're letting in are like if you're a clinician and you have chemo stuff, or you know what I mean. That's where we're at, and I'm really struggling to kind of okay, where can I go that I have in my past that were doctor's offices like skincare. Okay, I know I can get into those types of offices. Okay, so I have to rewrite myself almost. So, but I think I need a little extra help with that stuff, and just maybe a little tweaking on the on my LinkedIn. And I'm basically open to any location in New England at this point, and it's just been really hard. There's just been so many reps that are like 1 out of 4 out of work.
Right. Okay. So let's connect in the next couple days, and we'll figure out if there's something we can do, or Barry may be available as well. It's nice sometimes. So Barry and I are good yin and yang, right? We can cover each other's butt, and but we'll see what we can do to help you, Lisa.
And I mean, you're one person I always trusted you. I've been, I've gotten ripped off since then. So, I trust you.
All right. Well, thank you. And we take that seriously. So we'll definitely do what we can to help you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, Lisa. Have a good night. We'll be here for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye, Jennifer. Have a good night.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye-bye.